And we are back to What Did AI Say at VickyL-4AI on YouTube. Thank you so very much for coming back to the podcast. Gratitude is always the attitude. Let's go ahead and jump right into today's question. What did we ask AI? What is metacognition and what types of people are able to use it? Okay, the reason I asked this question was because we touched on it in the last episode, number 96. This is episode number 97. Metacognition is something that I believe we all use, but I know for myself, I used it in certain areas of my life, but not in others. And then once I started to fully understand it, I was able to integrate it into every aspect of my life. And I think that it will probably end up being the same for everybody who has an opportunity to watch this video. Because once you recognize what it is and how you're using it, you're able to not just use it for studying or not just use it for sports or not just use it for your personal life, but you're able to use it across the boards for everything. So let's get into ChatGPT's answer. What is metacognition? The ability to think about, monitor, and regulate your own thinking. It is often summarized as thinking about thinking. The concept became widely studied through the work of John H. Flavel in cognitive psychology. Metacognition usually involves two main parts: awareness of your own mental processes, knowing what you know and do not know, recognizing how you learn best, noticing biases, emotions, assumptions, or habits in your thinking, control or regulation of thinking, planning how to approach a problem, monitoring comprehension while learning, adjusting strategies when something is not working, reflecting afterward on what could improve. Okay, examples. A student realizing they memorize poorly by rereading and switching to practice testing. Okay. A person noticing they are emotionally reactive during an argument and slowing down before responding. That's a good one. A chess player evaluating their own decision-making process while actually playing. A scientist questioning whether confirmation bias is affecting interpretation of results. That is a vital one because we have had scientists and people not doing that at all. Types of metacognition. Researchers often divide it into categories: metacognitive knowledge, knowledge about yourself as a thinker, different strategies, when and why strategies work, metacognitive regulation, the active management of cognition, planning, monitoring, evaluating, correcting. Metacognitive experiences, internal feelings connected to thinking. I don't understand this. This feels familiar. I'm confident in this answer. Who can use metacognition? Most humans can use metacognition to some degree. It is not limited to geniuses or highly educated people. However, people differ in how developed it is, how consistently they use it, how accurately they assess themselves. Groups that often show stronger metacognitive ability include experienced learners, People trained to reflect on mistakes and strategies. Scientists, skilled teachers, good writers, expert athletes, strategists. People practicing self reflection. Those who regularly examine their thinking. Therapists, meditators, and journalers. Philosophers, people trained in critical thinking. This is all true. Education and deliberate practice can strengthen metacognition significantly. What can limit metacognition? Several things can reduce accurate self-awareness. Strong emotional states. Okay, so there are several things that can reduce accurate self-awareness. Being self-aware is extremely important, and people who are not self-aware should not be leading others. Strong emotional states, stress or fatigue, cognitive biases, overconfidence, lack of knowledge, certain neurological or psychiatric conditions, social conditioning or rigid ideology. Social conditions or rigid ideology. Important. A well-known effect is the Dunning-Kruger effect, where people with lower skill in an area may also lack the awareness needed to recognize their mistakes. Okay, yeah, that's true. Is metacognition rare? Basic metacognition is common. Advanced metacognition is less common because it requires honest self-observation, emotional tolerance for being wrong, cognitive flexibility, repeated practice. Many people can reflect occasionally, but fewer consistently monitor and revise their own beliefs and behaviors in real time. Let's repeat that. Many people can reflect occasionally, but fewer consistently monitor and revise their own beliefs and behaviors in real time. Let me tell you, when you start practicing that, it gets interesting, very interesting. Okay, can it be improved? Yes. Research suggests it can be strengthened through reflective journaling, meditation and mindfulness, active learning techniques, feedback from others, asking questions like, how do I know this? What assumptions am I making? What evidence would change my mind? Am I reacting emotionally or analytically? So important. So important. Let's read through that again. Can it be improved? We'll start all the way from up here. Okay. Can it be improved? Can metacognition be improved? Yes. Research suggests it can be strengthened through reflective journaling, meditation and mindfulness, active learning techniques, feedback from others, asking questions like, how do I know this? What assumptions am I making? What evidence would change my mind? Am I reacting emotionally or analytically? Okay, this is Chatgpt's final thought. Metacognition is considered one of the core foundations of effective learning, problem solving, and self-regulation. I'm going to repeat that again. Metacognition is considered one of the core foundations of effective learning, problem solving, and self-regulation. That was very good for ChatGPT. Wow, that was pretty good. ChatGPT is impressing me these days. Okay, let's go ahead and move on to Deepseek's answer. And just in case you forgot the question, please allow me to repeat it. What is metacognition and what types of people are able to use it? So we already found out from Chatgpt. On the second part, anybody can use it, and most people do use it, but in certain aspects of their life, and they may not even know that what they're doing is actually metacognition. So now that you know what it is, it makes it easier to be able to use it. Not just for me, did I start in sports? No, I didn't even start using it in sports, but I started using it in my private life, and then I carried it over into my athletic life, and then from there I carried it into everything. So I guess you have to figure out where you're actually using it, and then think about and figure out how to move that into other aspects of your life. Okay, here we go. Deepseek's answer. Let's see if we get any more information. Metacognition is often defined as thinking about your own thinking. It involves 3 key parts. Okay, thinking about your own thinking. That's what we got from ChatGPT, but these 3 key parts are new. 1, planning. Deciding which strategy to use for a task. 2, monitoring. Checking your understanding as you go. Am I getting this? 3, evaluating. Judging the outcome. Did that approach work? A simple example is realizing I don't understand this paragraph, monitoring, then deciding to reread it or look up a word, control. Can everyone use it? Yes. Virtually all people use metacognition automatically to some degree. Like realizing you forgot someone's name. However, the depth and accuracy of that self-awareness varies significantly. And why, I'm going to interject here, and why does the depth and accuracy vary significantly? Because many people are not actually honest with themselves. Metacognition depends a lot on your honesty with yourself. And if you're hyping yourself up and not being honest with where you're actually at, or what you actually know, or how you actually learn, then metacognition is not going to be as impactful for you. Because a key part of it is that you have to be able to criticize, to be very self-critical, so that you can level up. So if you can't be self-critical, if you can't be honest with yourself, then metacognition is not going to work for you. Okay, let's continue. The types who use it most effectively include successful students and lifelong learners. They constantly self-test and adjust study habits. Experienced professionals, experts in fields like medicine, engineering, or teaching regularly reflect on their decisions to avoid errors. I don't know if that's quite so true anymore, but let's hope we can get back to that. People with high emotional regulation. Being aware of your own biases and emotional states helps separate what I feel from what is true. What I feel from what is true. Mindfulness practitioners. Meditation trains the skill of observing your own thoughts non-judgmentally. That's so very true. Meditation is extremely important. Can anyone improve? Absolutely. Metacognition is a learned skill, not a fixed trait. Explicit strategies like pre mortem planning or keeping a learning journal help children, adults, and even people with ADHD or autism strengthen this ability, though they may need tailored approaches. Okay, let's read that again. Can anyone improve? Absolutely. Metacognition is a learned skill, not a fixed trait. Explicit strategies like pre mortem, planning, or keeping a learning journal help children, adults, and even people with ADHD or autism strengthen this ability, though they may need tailored approaches. Okay. In short, okay, Deepseek, that was quick. In short, everyone has basic metacognition, but those who deliberately practice self reflection, regardless of age or IQ, become the best at using it. Okay, let's repeat that again. In short, Deepseek's summary or final thought. Everyone has basic metacognition, but those who deliberately practice self reflection, regardless of age or IQ, become the best at using it. Okay, man, Deepseek was pretty short, but I mean, it did touch on some new information. Okay, so how does any of this affect our daily lives? A lot of times we go through life doing some amazing things, but we just never know the names of it or the terms or how to integrate it more into our lives. So it's like the more, for example, I mean, I didn't even think about metacognition until the past episode when it was mentioned. I was like, oh yeah, that would be a great episode. Self-awareness is how we fix our country and our world. The more self-aware we become, the better people we can elevate to. Good people don't pick bad people to represent and to lead them. Good people don't elect bad people into positions of power over them. There is a disconnect, whereas I believe our conditioning and brainwashing has become detrimental, and it feels as though many of us have succumbed to the belief and to the belief of the oppressors. And I mean, wow, what an interesting place we're in, because many people, we don't even recognize it. I mean, everything, once you start to self-analyze, and then you notice like what you watch and what music you listen to, it's like you really start to get it. You start to understand how we've been conditioned to be bad people, to disregard life, to disregard respect, to not even be able to walk out the house uh, looking decent with respect for ourselves and how we dress and how we present ourselves. And if we don't stop this right now and get back to where we were when Martin Luther King and Malcolm X and other black leaders were trying to tell us what we're now seeing take place firsthand, I just don't know if we can get through this. We've got to get back to self-criticizing and self-love and realizing what's going on, how we're being conditioned and how we're being brainwashed to disregard human life, to disregard and ignore fellow Americans sleeping on the streets and in tents. And just because we got our bag, we don't need to pay attention to what's going on around us. We're supposed to ignore that? No, that's not what we do. That's not what we did. That's not what our forefathers did. But now that we're conditioned and brainwashed to be our oppressors, it's what we've learned. And we have to most definitely unlearn it. Unlearn that. Unlearn the wicked. Oh my goodness. Unlearn the wickedness. Unlearn the evil. Please. Okay. Let's move on to our positive saying for today. And, it actually comes from Malcolm X. Let's see which one this is. Oh, this is a good one. Okay, so this is an actual saying from Malcolm X. A people taught to hate themselves will never stand up for themselves. Let's repeat that. Malcolm X. A people taught to hate themselves will never stand up for themselves. Ooh, wee. That is deep. That is deep. That's a good one. That's a good one. Okay. Thank you so very much for about 23 minutes of your time. If you haven't already, please like and subscribe to the podcast. I'll see you next episode. We the people have the power. Peace.